Ayo, what's up guys, it's me, the Great What If, back in a video, and this is What If Deku was a reincarnation of Zenitsu Part 2. Now, I have a few announcements for you boys. If you've been on my community tab for a long time, or you have been subscribed to the channel, you know what's gonna come up tomorrow. Only to those who are subscribed, you will know what's gonna happen tomorrow, so I don't really have much else to explain for that one. And I don't know if that What If is going to be original or not. If it is, when I upload it, comment down below if it's original or not. Because I don't really know. Anyways, another announcement. I'm cooking up something special for Valentine's Day. It's going to be 18 plus sooner or later. But things about to get freaking on that bitch. Anyways, it's going to be 3 parts into that What If either way. It's not going to be more than 4. I guess. I'm not really sure how long I'm going to make it. And yeah, I already know what the girl is, It's going to be someone with a starting with a M. And that's all I'm going to, say. You guys probably know who's going to be anyways. But, hey, we'll keep that on the down low. But, whatever. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Like if you like it. Dislike. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And let's get right into this What If. So we're gonna cut right back to Zuko, who's walking and talking with his grandpa. Screaming at him, saying that what he implying to Zuko, killing a demon is utter bananas, and he should go back to the nursery home that he seems to be broken out of, because that shit was crazy. What he just said was, is he taking his pills because demons don't exist? And Gramps, he with a big smile, sparkling, just walking down the hill calmly, and Izuku's just ranting on how demons don't exist and how all his life he thought it was, a fairy tale, or like what he says to kids who just, if they behave or like they steal something, they say like that demons exist and how their moms protected them or killed them to root off the evil away from them. He thought that it was a freaking story, and he actually liked it. He did train. He only did that because he thought he was gonna be a hero, and knowing the lightning, breathing, it actually helped him. He thought, I could become a hero. But now that his Gramps just said that he's gonna kill a demon? Utterly cuckoo bananas, bro. Like, he would definitely call the nursery and said someone escaped and they need to bring him back immediately. He's a very danger to our society. But Zuko's just, walking, ranting at, Gramps. Gramps, he doesn't really care. And Izuku's just telling him how everything what he said was just nonsense. But Gramps just turns his head slowly. You can hear the creak in his neck slowly breaking, and just looks straight into Izuku's eyes and says, "You're going, whether you like it or not." And that deep voice, though, that scared Izuku to the core. He shook. He's pale. Bro, he just ran to a bush and just stayed there. He was shivering. He was crying, too. He said, I don't, why me? He's contemplating on his decisions right now. Like, he's thinking about everything that he has learned from this day and threw it all out the window. Threw it all out. And just dived into a bush and just stayed there. He yelled out, "This is where I live now. You can leave me up here. This is where I live." Gramps, he's tired of this bullshit of this child who thinks he trained Izuku for 16 years of his life, and yet he can't do this. You know what? Gramps just grabs Izuku's hair and just drags him back home. Izuku's frailing his hands around him, saying to let him go. But he has a good grip on him. For a very short person, he's pretty strong. So I'm gonna change Izuku's height here. Last video I said like 4'5", and I wasn't even thinking through that. So I'm gonna put him like 5'4.5", like where Zenitsu's original height is. So now you know. Anyways, back into the what if. Izuku's being dragged by Gramps now, and Izuku's just flailing his arms around, trying to get away from, well, Gramps. But every time he does that, his hair gets pulled a little bit harder. And Izuku just yells out, I'm sorry, alright, And Gramps just not taking his bullshit anymore. He's dragging Izuku down the hill. And as he's passing by, he sees these types of western flowers, or wisteria flowers. They were pretty cool, unique as well. They're mostly growing on top of the mountain, but that didn't matter anyways. He's just being dragged down a hill, and it's very humiliating. I said that wrong. Very humiliating. Oh God, am I stuttering? Humiliating. As he sees the other kids just point at him and laugh. And Izuku just looks down in shame. And his Gramps just looks back at him while dragging him still, saying, you should feel ashamed. You act like a fucking child. And Izuku says, I am a child. And Gramps just said, no, you're a man now. Are you ready for taking, the final exam? Aren't you, happy? No! Why would I be happy to take a final exam to ensure my death? Where if demons actually exist, per se, demons actually exist, how do you expose me to kill them? Gramps just is in utter shock right now, saying how you're supposed to kill him. He taught Izuku how to kill demons from the very first start. Gramps just looks right at Izuku, saying, you decapitate them. Gone. Just shank right there and then. No turning back. Or you can, let them out in the sun, but they burn away slowly and agonizingly. So, to cut the time, that's way faster. And Izuku just says, I can't do that. How? Why? And Gramps just says, because they're monstrous, bloodthirsty, mindless killers. And we are the protectors of humanity that will kill off the demons that was left of Muzan's reign. Alright? That's our job. We are demon slayers, as literally in the name. Your mother was a demon slayer. She was a very powerful one. And Izuku says, and? I mean, what do you think Mom would act now? And Gramps just stops there and then. They get into the front of the house, and Gramps opens the door. He then throws Izuku against the wall. His back hits the wall hard. He then just on his knees saying, ow, what the hell? And then looks at his old man. His fists are clenched. And the old man says, please, don't remind me of your mother. And Izuku took a little moment to catch a breath and says, okay. He then sees his Gramps just go to his room and close the door behind him. Following behind Gramps was his two bodyguards, who seems to be watching from the shadows. Very ninja-like. Both of them walk into the door just laughing at Izuku, saying, man, kid, we could hear your screams from up there. The guy with the fully scars around his face and scars around his hands seems to just point and laugh at Izuku, but the man next to him, what seems to be identical, but yet different as well. He had his owl mask, and he was very ripped to the bone, and he seemed scary, but yet just in a calm state. The man with the scarred face just screamed and just overall just humiliated Izuku and says how weak he really is. But then the man with the scars just get hit in the back of the head. He then just, you know, touches his back and just looks at the man with the owl mask and says, "What the hell?" Look, don't act like that to the child, alright? We've been to his footsteps as well. Don't act like you've been like him as well. And the guy with the scars just turned around and just walked out, kicking a little basket on the way. And the man with the owl mask seems to walk forward to Izuku. Izuku just looks in awe about how powerful he really is, just by looking at him. He could see his Narichi's sword as well on his, hilt, on his hip. The man just goes on his knees and just says, "I'm very sorry for my brother." Wait, that's your brother? Yeah. Sadly, I didn't choose this way. He just gave to me. Look, your gramps have done a lot for us. We weren't born in this family. We were chosen. He saved us, me and my brother. And Izuku doesn't understand what's going on. The man then puts his hands towards his face and grabs the owl mask, revealing his true self. His eyes seems to be scratched out and just filled with scars around his face. Izuku took an awe about this and just glanced at how many scars he has over his eyes. It's almost like it was being picked off, or roughly most as well. Well, most of. As the man just says, we didn't have any names, but we were poor during this time. The old man he saved us. We were very ill, and my brother was just a mess. Then things took a turn, and he found us, adopted us, and brought us to his family, taught us the way of the sword, and also he showed us your mother. Your mother was as lively as ever, always screaming and, beating us up. I could see the fear in her eyes. She was independent. She didn't need no one's help. She was an excellent swordsman. He could beat us both with just her hands tied behind her back, while we have our swords. That's how powerful your mother really was. And, I wanted to become just like her. She was, older than us in a couple of years, but we decided that we wanted to be just like her. She already took the entrance exam and passed as well. We wanted to do the same, so we trained our life. We trained and trained and trained and trained, almost to the brink of death. How many times I always wanted to quit, but I always pushed my brother and me to the limit. We learned thunder breathing. Almost all of the forms. We weren't able to do at least the third or fourth, but we're able to do the 1 and 2. You are a very skilled child. You have learned all 6. That's saying I'm a veteran. Me and my brother went to the entrance exam, or the final selection. There were so many participants as well, and our gramps also told us that there's a 2% chance of us even living. But he always told us a few tips. Head east, he says. That's where the sun will hit first. So that's me and my brother went. We ran and ran, in almost like an endless pit of just darkness. We were forced to stay there for 7 days and survive. We ran and ran and ran until we head east. It was horrible. The screams. I'll never forget them. One time when a demon tried to ambush us, I pushed my brother away and I got my eye scratched out of my own sockets. But don't worry. I decapped that demon. Both me and my brother made it out alive. We were only the 2 participants who made it out, sadly. I didn't know. Hey, are you telling us about our old shitty background story? Whatever. Oh, I see you're back. Anyways, kid, this is the only advice I'm going to tell you. Don't hesitate. Alright? Never hesitate. I have only hesitated once in my life, and that was for a child who had turned into a demon, sadly. I don't know how she was turned. I didn't want to kill her. Sadly, my brother got the scars as well from his face, and I hesitated. He didn't, though. He cut her head off, made her go in peace. Demons are always ruthless and always mindless creatures. I always hated them. From the very start, from the final selection. It gave me a drive to kill them all. I hesitated once, and now my brother got those scars. Anyways, kid, don't hesitate at all. Keep moving forward, and don't look back. Anyways, back to my story. After I started to kill more demons and demons, we were trying to find out where they were all coming from. We knew there was left from Muzan's reign, but it's almost like they're never ending, like someone's producing them, but it is probably nothing. They're probably just in hiding or anything. Anyways, we were considered veterans, almost a Hashira level. But we decided to retire a little bit early, dedicate our lives to protect the old man, and call ourselves bodyguards. And that's how we do it. We train other people using a thunder breathing that was taught by us. Well, I couldn't do it anymore, but my brother can, but he's mostly a selfish person, sadly. Anyways, good luck, kid. Takes a loss, or just take a lot of rest. And remember, you're a demon slayer. Your mom would be proud of you if she was here. God knows she would. Keep moving forward. See ya, kid. He then went on and just scrubbed Izuku's hair a little, put on his owl mask, and just got up and turned around. Izuku then just says, "Thank you for your service." The man with the owl mask turns around and seems to smile under his mask. Izuku didn't see anything, but the man just turned around and walked. Both of them disappeared in a moonlight sky. Izuku went to his bed and slept, getting, scared as well, but knows that he just needs to survive for 7 days. That's all he needs to do, survive. The next day, Izuku got his things ready. He needs to leave around sunset. No, not sunset. Dawn, I think it was. So Izuku gets his clothes ready. He gets his sword ready. And he was all ready to go and leave. He has to make at least a 1-day journey. But before he left, the old man just hugs Izuku, saying that he looks just like his mother. And that brought Izuku to, widening his eyes a little bit. He just needs to survive. And the old man just whispers to Izuku's ear, saying, "Don't you go dying on me, alright? When I die and I meet your mother, she'll probably get pissed on me. Pissed off that I let you die in there. Alright? Don't you dare die. Come back home safe. I'm proud of you, Izuku." Izuku then hugs back at his gramps and just cries. He then just covers up his tears and turns around and walks. He then turns around again and just waves his hand. He then notices the bodyguards and a few other kids there, all waving back. Izuku, with a big smile, turns around and walks. It took almost a full day until Izuku got to Mount Fuji, I think. Mount Fujiyama? I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. But as he got there, he saw the wisteria flowers. He recognized it from his mountain. As he walked up the stairs, he noticed that there was a bunch of other Demon Slayer participants as well, others with scars or different colors of kimonos. The air became heavy, almost toxic, but Izuku prevailed and walked. He then waited until two little girls came out. They looked like lollies. Oh god, the worst of them. Not even the cute little ones, just the barbaric looking ones. Both of them just said what they did. What they said in the Demon Slayer universe, or what they said there. Izuku was ready and needed to head east. As everyone was ready to go, she gave the signal, and all of them ran. Izuku ran and jumped through trees, jumped through everything that he can to get to east. He remembered it from the man with the owl mask. He never got to know his name, though, which he regretted. As he continues on running and running, he could hear very well his surroundings. Seems that tree branches are getting broken off, and he hears faint screams. It's almost toxic. Like something is coming for him, but he's not really much sure. He then continues on just running. He needs to focus on surviving more. He then had a thought of him. All of his body's parts been severed off by demons, munching on his flesh. Oh, it went a shiver down his spine. But then he continued on running as fast as he can. Until then, he slipped on a branch and just fell down, face forward. He then slowly got up and then heard laughter. Izuku looked left and right but noticed nothing. He put his hands on his sword, but he doesn't know where the sound is completely coming from. So he closes his eyes and tries to find the sound. It's coming from all directions. What the hell? Izuku looked around and notices at least 3 other demons jump at him. All of them, their fist up in the sky, and just punching. Izuku jumped out the way, and all of them punched the ground at the same time, causing a massive crater. Izuku was hit by the blast and just hits his back against a tree, almost knocking him out. Izuku got up slowly and needed to run, but all 3 of them blocked his escape. He can't go down like this. But then notices their large teeth and long tongue. He began to hyperventilate and just become filled with fear. He then starts to shake. All of them just laughed at Izuku. He just said how they let a weak little demon slayer in this big pen of theirs, and how they're gonna feast on his flesh, bone by bone, every part of his body. And Izuku was so filled by fear, he passed out. And as all of them slowly walked towards Izuku, discussing which body part they would eat first. As they all 3 got close to Izuku as possible, all 3 of their heads were cut off. Izuku was standing over them. And all those 3 little demons, their heads rolled on the ground looking at Izuku still, saying, "Ow! I thought he passed out." And then they noticed that his eyes were closed. What the hell is this kid? All of them disappeared. Izuku regained his senses and says, "What the hell? How did... Ah!" And then starts to run. "I am not dying here! I refuse!" He just continues on running, and ran until he hears a maniacal laugh. A maniacal laugh that sends him shivers down his spine. He hides behind a tree. He then hears faint screams, and cries. He then looks behind a tree, from the tree that was hiding behind, and sees the little kid running, holding a sword, just running. He then sees a huge demon, with his arms clenched around a kid's throat. His body is filled with thorns and what seems to be purple liquid leaking out. The little points look like needle sharp. Izuku didn't know what to do. He was so scared. The man, his whole throat seems to be just crushed. The demon just laughed. He slowly ate the man's body. The little kid just ran and ran. But the demon turned his arm into a bunch of needles, striking the kid in every direction, draining his blood until nothing but bone and ash. Izuku was so frightened. He didn't know what the hell that demon just did. He needs to run. But then something brought his attention to. He then had a memory of his old grandpa saying that how Inko died was very mysterious. Almost like a substance was injected in her body, but she must have not noticed until now. He remembered that he was talking to his grandpa, and how she died. It was very mysterious. Then he snaps back to reality, and noticed the needle-like thorns around his body. No, it couldn't. He couldn't. Izuku had his little owl mask as well before he left. Izuku ran in front of the demon, saying, in a shivering tone, Did you kill my mother? The demon just looked at Izuku, saying, Oh, that mask. Where did I recognize that before? Oh, yes, from that bitch of a brat. That brat almost cut my head off, but she was able to cut most of my body off. Oh, you must be a descendant of that thunder-braving shit. Right, you little brat. Oh, I want to say something to you. Was that your mother who passed away? Is she still alive, or did she pass away? I'm quite curious. And Izuku just shivers. He pulls out his sword. He's just shivering there and then. He regrets ever even showing his face through the demon, but he needs to. He then asks questions about if he's even related to the death of his mother. And the demon just snickers and says, Is she dead? Izuku's heart just dropped into his deepest stomach and says, So you did. You killed her. Oh, yeah. Before she was able to cut up my rest of my body, I injected her just a little bit of my poison for her not to notice. I made sure to eat away her body, slowly over the years, in hopes she dies slowly and painfully as ever. Izuku starts to shake and shiver. And the demon just looks at Izuku, saying, I guess you share the same fate as that brat. I wonder how many years has she lived until now. Oh, I wish she was here to see you die. Your poor, poor mother. The demon then injected Izuku with a bunch of his needles and injected his poison into Izuku's veins. Izuku fell to the ground, coughing out a little bit of blood. Purplish light covered his body. The demon just snickered and laughed at Izuku slowly dying. Izuku just puts his sword directly at the grass, making him stand up. But Izuku seems not to be affected that much. It hurt a little bit, but now it seems to be fading away. The demon was well curious on how Izuku's still alive. It should have killed him instantly. But then Izuku thinks about it. If his mother was injected by a small dose of that poison, then passing on to me might as well build up my immunity to it. It's possible, but I'm not really much sure on how this actually happens. So Izuku might have built up an immunity to protect himself from demon poison. Specifically this type of poison. Izuku then smirks and says, I could beat you without worry of this poison running into my veins. The demon was taken back by this and says, How? How are you not dead to my poison? Maybe I should give you more of a lethal dose. Maybe I should kill you. Bunch of needles started to go straight for Izuku, but Izuku pulled out his sword. Well, that's already pulled out, and just cuts all the needles. He then rushed at the demon, and started to cut through all the needles that was rushing at him. The demon tried to turn back, but Izuku was so fast. Izuku then jumps on a tree branch, using his stance, and says, First form, thunder braving, thunderclap and flash. He then just bolts right in front of the demon, cutting all of its limbs off, including its head. The head slowly falls to the ground as it looks at Izuku. No, I can't believe it. I killed at least 15 demon slayers. I can't believe I died to a brat like you. And his body slowly dissipates into nothingness. Izuku was so terrified that his body slowly became numb. But he mustn't even think about that or even feel it. He must keep on running and run and run and run. He then ended up to a wisteria flower. He was finished. It felt like hours passed by, but in reality, it was actually a couple minutes. Izuku was the first one there. They were supposed to survive there for 7 days, but yet Izuku got there in a couple minutes just because of a thunderclap and flash. Izuku was impressed by his own speed as well. He succeeded in so much. He then claps his hands together and says, Thank you so much, Gramps, for teaching me. I can't believe it actually killed a demon. I can calm down, actually. He then falls back and just lands in the grass. At least 7 days pass, and there was barely any participants left. At least 2 survived. So it was in total, there was 3. There seems to be one with a strange, earring, a strange, a type of earring he has never seen before, but he just ignores it. Then the 2 small girls show up again, and says now they have to pick their oars for their swords. All of them stepped up into the stepped up and looked at all the oars. Izuku did not know what the fuck he was seeing. There were different types of oars, different types of sizes. He didn't know what the fuck it was. And he was just stumped. He then turned around and looked at the other 2 participants who actually made it out, and they were stumped too. They didn't know which oar this is. So Izuku just closed his eyes and let the hearing do all the work. He hears a very special rock, something that he's never heard before. It's almost like it's vibrating. Izuku walks towards the rock, or oar, picks it up and says, I guess this one? The 2 girls says, Alright then, your sword will be forged in 10 to 15 days, so you have to wait for that. Also, you'll be getting your own little raven. She then snaps her fingers and 3 little crows comes out. And the crow lands on Izuku's shoulder. And then an owl lands on Izuku's other shoulder. Both of them seems to be fighting each other. It's almost like they're picking on who should, be with him. Izuku's just exhausted from even thinking about these two. Izuku now finished the final exam, as Izuku was forced to walk back home. It took almost a full-on day to head back, and his muscles were sore. His body was so filled with fatigue and everything, he wanted to just fall and lay there. He didn't want to die. He believed that if he died as a virgin, he will never forgive himself. Ever. And he's too young to die. But yeah, it's already past him. He's heading home, finally towards his family. The family that he always loved and cherished in his heart. And as Izuku finally heads home, gets home, his Gramps was just waiting there. As Gramps just started to cry a little, he then ran towards Izuku and just hugs him. Both of them shared this beautiful moment. Gramps led Izuku inside and they talk. Now, time skip 10 to 15 days. Izuku is waiting for his sword. He's pumped. He's actually very much excited for his sword. He'd worked hard for that shit, and he's gonna enjoy it. He then sees a man with a strange straw hat and things hanging from it. Izuku didn't really much think of it, but the man was wearing a strange mask. A devilish mask? What the hell? The man just walks and says, "Are you Izuku Midoriya?" Yeah. Want to come inside? This sword has been forged and facing the sun. I don't really know how it goes. But then he shows Izuku the sword. It was, the sheath and the handle was fully black. And had a good, like in the picture there. And Izuku went inside, and the man with the devilish mask went inside as well. Gramps was sitting right there as well, and says, "Well, what are you waiting for? Open up your new sword." Izuku was so excited. He slowly opened it up, and it was, a grayish sword. But then, it slowly changed color. The blade started to turn a little bit greener. Then, a little dark green. Izuku didn't know what this actually means, but the old man and, the man with the devilish, mask weren't really much impressed. But there were emblems in the sword. Just like how Zenitsu had his, sword with little thunderbolts and everything. That's how it looks like, but it's just green instead of, orange or yellow. Izuku was, he was sore. He was very happy. He got his sword. He got it all done. He's happy. Until a crow seems to appear and says, 6 demon slayers have been killed near Hosu City. You must check if there's a demon lurking around. Whenever Beck 6 were dead. Come to Hosu City immediately. People are going missing. Izuku says, "Oh, what? What? Why now?" The old man just says, "Well, get going, Izuku." The one with the devilish mask says, "Yeah, kid, come on, it's your job." And Izuku, he got his equipment ready. He has his, Komodo, everything. His black, everything in the picture right here. With the symbol on his back saying, "Destroy." He puts on his little belt, and he was ready to go off. But Izuku, he then hugs his Gramps one more time. And Gramps whispered Izuku, saying, if they're not known to the government, so you better keep that sword down low, and if any other hero sees you, you better run away. because they're probably gonna arrest you or put you in jail if they think you're a villain for killing someone. All right, so keep it on the down low. Izuku understands this. Okay, he then starts to turn around and walk. He starts to walk, and towards the bullet train. He then yells out, "Please, God, don't let me die a virgin. Please, I was so close from dying last time. Don't let me die like this. Please." 6 demon slayers that already been killed. Why are they sending 1? Why? That's retarded! And that's where I'm going to end up, guys. I'm going to upload another What If tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you all so much. Goodbye.